Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's Movement Debriefed. On this week's episode, we're going to take a look at how to do rip punches like a boss. So I've always been a huge fan of the rip trainer, especially some of the higher end and more complex exercises, because it's a perfect marrying of everything that makes up good athletic movement. And I want to take a look at the rip punch today and kind of highlight some of those pieces that are happening simultaneously. So I think sometimes there's a disconnect where the fitness world, there's a huge gap between what we do in the training world and what happens in real life. And a lot of times in training, we train little pieces and train things in isolation, but the magic is teaching all those things how to work together effectively. So I think there are certain pieces of equipment out there that are really special in certain dimensions where we can really start to harness these different physical abilities simultaneously. So I want you to watch Pete do a series of rip punches in real time first, because you can just see it's really impressive with his fighting background and everything. He really generates a lot of force and power in here. So let's take a look at it in real time first. So not wanting to be on the other end of that stick as it's going through. But let's kind of take it here just for a second and break down what's starting to go on. So as he starts to wind up for this rep here, and it's even hard to do just because he's moving so quick, but you can see right there we have this great coil. He's got all this stored energy and this stored force that he's working. So the whole series of the exercise is this load and explode, this fluid motion. So we can see here that he's starting to get the hips and they're actually rotating to load up power, because from this side, because he's going to be addressing across the other side. You can even see it down in the legs. So we have this knee starting to come in a little bit. You can see he's on the inside of that foot. He's starting to get into eversion on that foot there. We're really loading and starting to store a lot of energy, especially in this leg right here, because that's where he's going to come across and express. Now you can see we also have a lot of preload in the shoulders. So you can see across there we're starting to rotate, and he's getting everything loaded up and he's getting ready. Now as he goes through the motion, we can start and look at where he initiates through. So his first move is that left hip starts to pop and move through. So we're looking right back in this area here, and the very first move is that hip trigger right there. So he starts and initiates and leads the whole motion through there, and now he's really starting to bring and drive this hip around and forward. And then you can see that he's going to start to actively pivot this foot so he can clear the hips, get some more range, and really start to drive power. So where he generates all that power through that range is this off leg. He does a great job triggering the hip. But now watch the upper body, and this is where a lot of people go wrong in this exercise. I'm going to back it up here a little bit. You can see with his upper body, his initiation is not on this hand. It's not on his power hand where he's pushing and driving the bar forward. It's on the opposite hand or opposite arm or shoulder where he is actively pulling the shoulder back and opening the ribs. So you can start to see right there, boom, he's starting to really pull and drive this shoulder blade back, which is going to start to force this one to come through. So when we're looking at the upper body action, there's this wonderful action of both push and pull happening simultaneously, and that's how he gets the bar to snap so aggressively at the end range of motion. But again, remember, he initiated all this through the hip. Now as we come through right here, and now you can really clearly start to see this arm is driving up and this one is starting to pull back, and that's where we get a lot of that acceleration on that end range. And then look how quickly he starts to coil and come back the other way and right again through the hips. So we reset, reload, and now you've seen the hips turn back this way again, storing all that energy so that this hip can drive through. So it's a wonderful marrying of just explode, reload, explode, and then back. And that's why he does it, and you can see from the real time there's so much power in that movement. So again, these are exercises that I love, starting to put everything together. We've taught in the hips how to move and how to rotate in the thoracic spine and pushing and pulling and pivoting, and now we're teaching them how to do it together to actually generate force and power.